And welcome to the show, Al Islam and Community Issues. Today we're doing part 2 of the Joe Brazil legacy, and we have one of the dynamic relatives of Mr. Joe Brazil, Tana Yasu. Did I get it right?
Yeah, Tana.
Tana, yeah.
That's all right. That's
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hey, we are just so happy to have you. This is part 2 of the show. We talked about Joe Brazil. And as we mentioned before, if you don't know who he is, you need to go find out, ask somebody who he is. Because
Yes.
there's a great history of this man. He's done a lot for the music here in Seattle, especially for the African American community, and really the whole community, and throughout the nation and throughout the world. And with that, I'm tossing it over to you. Tell us.
Okay,
Talk to
wonderful.
us.
So if we could, basically, let's put the first slide up.
Okay.
That's fine. Joe Brazil, Uncle Joe, was born August 25th in 1927 in Detroit, Michigan. And he did transition August 6th in 2008. And he moved to Seattle in 1962. He took on a job at Boeing there. So one of the first, oh yeah, that's something I said. Excuse me, I need to use notes sometimes because
No
there's
problem.
so much information that I like to make sure I am in the right frame of mind here. So what I do want to make clear is that Joe Brazil was a man of many firsts. And I am not finding my notes.
You'll find it.
A man of many firsts. First African American teacher at the UW. You know, he came out here, worked at Boeing as an engineer, and he is, oh my goodness. So, one of those urban legends that happen to be true. And this is a quote from Vivian Phillips, who worked with him at one of our black radio stations back in the 70s, KYAC. She says, he, along with all of the other jazz musicians, and that's on slide 2, please, around the community at the time, gave us a level of closeness to great music and musicians that made an impact on how our culture was expressed and embraced. I don't think any of us really understood how fortunate we were to have teachers like Joe Brazil at both Garfield High School and the University of Washington. Music legends like Joe Brazil should never fade from our memories. And again, like I said, that's Seattle native Vivian Phillips, one-time music DJ at KYAC and longtime black arts and culture advocate. So we'll go to the slide 3, where it tells more about Uncle Joe. After high school, he served in the U.S. Army, and he returned to Detroit and continued his studies. He worked in the auto industry at the with the Chrysler missile plant as the only black tool and die maker at the time. So that's where I was going.
That's where he was going. So many firsts.
With the man of many firsts.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Trailblazer, okay, and pulled people along with them. You know how so many times people do these things and then shut the door behind them and don't want other people like, this is mine. So, yes, bring people with him. He taught himself how to play the saxophone. I don't know if you knew that.
Didn't know that. No.
Okay, music was his first love. His home was turned into a studio, and this is the home in Detroit,
Okay.
where he had many well-known musicians played and developed music. So, and then at the University of Washington, like I said, in 1969, without any curriculum, he came and he developed that curriculum.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And from my understanding, it would be standing room only, and some people
yeah.
weren't even in the class, would go to his class.
It was standing room only, and then you couldn't even get in. It was so tight. People
I'm in this class, but I can't fit in. So some people weren't supposed to be there.
You learned to get there early.
early.
That class you got there early. Yes, that's right. I forgot about the standing room. It was standing room only.
Yes. So and then haven't been denied tenure. Like I said, he continued to move forward, and so we can go to the next slide, 4, where he developed the Black Academy of Music in 1969 to serve the community and youth with cultural enrichment and a sense of history. And that also included the Prison to Outreach program. And then he also continued to lecture after leaving the University of Washington. He would lecture at schools and colleges and on the importance of history and music. So we have that. So I just want to also share that we did start a band. It's a 6-piece band, and we call ourselves Joe Brazil Legacy Band. And we do play weekly. You know, I spoke on that earlier. We play weekly at the Ethiopian restaurant. And it's really like a jam session. And it's kind of like how I'm gathering people, because musicians are hearing about, you know, well, what's going on with Joe Brazil? So if we want to connect, it's almost like our meetup, you know, so everyone's invited, you know, to come. If we call ourselves the Brazilians. If you're a Brazilian and you feel you hear the call and it sounds like that's someplace you need to be, by all means, come on down, because you are a part of this history and this legacy. And this is what I need, is members of the community to now come forth so that we can preserve and retain this very important Black Seattle history. Well, not only Seattle history, but we're focusing on Seattle at first in these beginning stages. So other musicians have come in and sat in and jammed with us, and we just always have a good and positive time. You know, people are bumping into each other, haven't seen each other in decades. So it's just a great thing. You know, I really had no clue. I mean, I knew it would be great and big and wonderful, but I didn't even understand what it was. Like she said, you know, like I said, I took it for granted was going on. The range, you know, everybody knew Uncle Joe.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
So we had a Joe Brazil Legacy tribute back in June, on June 29th at Langston Hughes in Seattle, which was a kickoff event, and it was a kickoff event to a 3-day tribute. It was really awesome, and some people kept calling in afterward that didn't make it, and they heard about it, and they were disappointed that they missed it. So we decided to not wait a year for the next tribute and to just keep making it available. See, that's the whole thing about that availability, right? So so then we went ahead to plan the BAM reunion, so which that's set up for Saturday, September 8th at Langston Hughes again. And that'll be the next slide, please. Yes, Saturday, September 8th at Langston Hughes from 1 to 5, and there's tickets available at Brown Paper Tickets, where we're having the reunion piece. There will be a meal involved, and you know, just a reunion, an old school reunion. So, but these events are sponsored by HCAACD, and which is the Historic Central Area Arts and Cultural District organization. And this is in partnership with the City of Seattle Office of Arts and Culture and Langston Hughes, of course. So this is what I'm saying, like, people are really coming on board and being supportive of this whole situation, and I'm just so grateful to everyone. And so we can be reached, like I said, at the Patreon, www.patreon.com/Joe Brazil Legacy. That information will be on the next slide as well. So that's another way to just get connected and stay in touch with us and what we're doing. So yeah, the Black Academy of Music Alumni Friends reunite to celebrate the legacy. So and then on the next slide, it just tells more about how the day is going to go. From 1 to 2:45, you know, we'll do the memory lane where everybody can have time to connect, because at the last event, it was show all the way through and people didn't get a chance to really talk and get together. So we're offering that at first: reunite, photo booth, dining, presentation, storytelling, and then the performances going on. And so that is really great, and I'm excited about that whole situation. So Uncle Joe was a genius. He's a genius, and he's a man who was before his time. You know, like I said, he's an engineer and also computer savvy, and was already doing what we call social media before it was even popular. You know, he was capturing events via audio taping. He was capturing events and film and photos. And so we still have most of this collection. And so our next move is going to be to, in fact, digitize these collections in order to share and help, you know, plenish the history. Because when I tell you I look through the slides, I have pictures of a young Dizzy Gillespie.
Oh, wow.
I have pictures of Count Basie. I have pictures of people that, you know, unpublished. That, I mean, this is from his personal collection.
Yeah,
These were his friends.
Yeah.
So what the Spark did was unfortunate, but it has now did come to life, and it makes me think of a certain scripture that says all good things come out of, all things are good if you're walking in accordance with, you know, you know that scripture I'm talking about?
But I know where you're going with
Well,
it.
yeah, you know, like it could be a bad situation,
Yeah.
but you can still get something
You can
good
still
out of
get
it,
something out of
basically.
it.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, it was like, yes, this was something painful, but at the end of the day, it did shine light and brought light onto the rest of the whole situation. Like, okay, that was just a piece of the puzzle. So we're gonna be all right because I'm excited to see what's on these film, you know, getting them digitized.
yeah,
And so we're in touch with Victory Studios, who is gonna help with that. And so that's why we started the Patreon, where people could sign on and basically subscribe and do even just a small monthly, you know, portion to the legacy. And
Right.
we can use those funds to help get the rest of these things digitized so that we could share it on a internet, a digital archive.
Got you. Yeah.
And also the documentary, we've been interviewing many of the community members. So yeah, we interviewed you. Mr. Eddie Rise been interviewed, King County Councilman Larry Gossett,
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Elmer Dixon, Wadey Irvin, Lonnie Williams, Herman Brown. I mean, Pastor Pat Wright.
Okay.
I interviewed her.
Yeah.
So I've just been collecting more stories in order to plenish out, you know, Uncle Joe's situation and all the work he did. So, and after the reunion, that's when we'll go more into production of that. You know,
okay.
editing and all that. I saw a post you made about how long it took to make Our People Are Rising documentary.
Yeah.
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, we don't want to make people wait that long. We're I mean, not that they have to wait that long, but
Right.
I truly understand how and why that would take 7 years. But our plan is to do almost just a lot of times I'm asking myself, what would Uncle Joe do? Trust me, with a lot of this, I'm just like, okay, well, what would Uncle Joe do? I think,
Right.
and seeing how he was and how he operated and how things are even happening now, I think Uncle Joe would do more of a vlogumentary, almost like a video blog documentary.
Okay.
That instead of trying to compile everything and put it into this movie that would take years to get done. I don't want to keep people waiting because
Right.
these generations are, you know,
They need
and
to
this
know.
is it.
They need to know.
This is why I'm rushing. You know, I feel like, well, not rushing, but I'm trying to get as much as I can now, and we didn't want to make them wait till the next year for another tribute or another reunion. Like, we can't wait another year. Let's do this as soon as possible, and let's get this out as soon as possible so people can enjoy it. And
Enjoy it. Yeah.
so a vlogumentary, which would be smaller segments over time, because it's a
Gotcha.
big story.
It's a
If
big
we tried to do this in one movie, that movie might be 12 hours long,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, so I do also want to take the time to thank, you know, all the community. Mr. John Yasutaki has also been collecting interviews,
That's good.
and he's on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and so he's been very helpful in connecting me with a lot of the people that were associated with my great uncle. My great aunt, Frances Brazil, is still alive,
Okay.
by the way.
Okay.
Forgive me. for not mentioning her sooner.
yeah.
She's, behind every good man, they say is a good, or I should say beside every good man
Exactly.
is a good woman. And my great aunt, Frances Brazil, is still alive. She still lives in that same house in the central area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, but she's had several strokes. And so, I don't like to question her or press her too much
pressure, yeah.
I don't like thinking of upsetting her anymore about the situation than it's already.
Right.
So I'm really trying, just doing it around her gently. So people like you and John Yasutake and people that were there are very helpful in connecting me with the people that I need to connect with to make this happen. So is there any other questions you might have?
Yeah, there's a lot. One thing about this whole thing, when you think about it, Joe Brazil and those group of musicians, they played real music. It's real music. When you go out and hear real music now, it's a wonderful thing. Because there's so much auto-tune with the people who are coming up now. I mean, we're talking about singers and stuff like that, but it's like to really appreciate the art that goes into playing an instrument and dedicating yourself to master that instrument. These people here, they're serious.
Oh yes.
They were serious. They were serious. They took this precious gift and utilized it, for themselves, for the audience, for just the general public, just to really appreciate it. I mean, and the work and the practice, that went into it, and the dedication. That's one thing I remember about Joe Brazil, is dedication. Whatever he was involved in, he was dedicated. It wasn't halfway, wishy-washy, he was dedicated. If it was in the classroom, he was dedicated. If it was on stage, he was dedicated. If it was teaching the youth, it was dedicated. As you said, they brought a program to the prisons. So these are things, it's a living legacy.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely.
It's a living legacy, yeah.
Like you say, that I teach young black men bars to keep them from behind bars.
Yes.
School to prison pipeline. I mean, things that like we're doing now, he was doing already.
Yes.
So I say he was definitely a man before his time, a genius. I feel he does deserve that title. And let me go ahead and say I have put in the paperwork to have September 8th proclaimed Joe Brazil Day.
Okay.
I kind of was keeping it under wraps because I didn't hear back yet, but I figure let's just put it in the universe that this is going to happen.
There you go. We'll proclaim it. Yeah.
So that we could definitely, at this celebration, just really give him the day. And people are, when they call in and they're saying they want to participate and they're just glad to have that platform, and this is what I say, I'm a conduit,
Right.
and so many people are like, well, what are you just like, it's just really not about me. This is just how my family is, obviously. I mean, we share.
Yes.
We have so much,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we share, we're open, we're giving. My uncle I remember going to festivals as a kid, and he was just putting on festivals and doing all these things. And so that's just part of what I do. That's part of my culture.
Yeah.
So it's second nature to want to share and have people on board. And so it's not about me. And so many people, oh, thank you. It's like, this is about him.
Right.
And I even told the band members when people are asking, well, what's all this and just point them right back to Joe Brazil, because that's what it is.
That's
It's
where it's
all
at.
about Joe Brazil.
Very good.
But I do have to say, for the band that they come every week, and it's not about the money, seriously, with them. These gentlemen are just all about doing this work. And this is the type of work and it's bringing so much joy to people that.
Oh yeah, I've heard them. They can play.
Yes.
They can play. I know
Pure
some.
music.
I know some of them.
I
can
feel
play.
I'm so privileged to be able to get this real music every week. Even at the tribute, when that was happening, I was just like, this is like every day for me. And I know so many people are like, oh, it was a thing, but I'm just drowning in it, and I love it, and I'm in a very happy place. It helps me to stay motivated.
Yeah.
You know, it gets
Well,
tiring.
you're not drowning in it, you're floating on it.
Yeah,
You're floating out. You're floating out.
I'm just floating on it.
Look, anything on the posters you want to show? Again, anything you want to point out on the poster that maybe we missed or we want to go back over? And we got to talk just briefly about, well, we just got to mention that there's the Joe Brazil T-shirts. They're awesome.
Yes.
So-
Well, by becoming a patron, then you will have access to so many things regarding Joe Brazil. So,
Outstanding.
so-
Well, let's go walk over here and just take a little walk and just mention.
name some of these
Yeah,
names.
name some of these names, some that we haven't got to. And
Yes.
So you mentioned Roy Ayers. I'm going to get out the way. I don't know if the cameraman can get that. That's a tough shot to get. But Roy Ayers, I remember Roy Ayers. Yeah, all these guys that your uncle was with. So that you gotta
Oh.
he'll get it, but you gotta kind of move. Yeah, he'll tilt that.
All right.
I
So
think he'll get it.
Roy Ayers, he's on. Just to name some names here. He's here with Congressman Mitchell Perrion.
I think so. So just kind of point because your head is like
Oh.
right on the. We're getting a good
You like
camera
my-
shot. We
my
like your
hair?
hairstyle. Yeah,
Yes.
you working the crowd.
Okay.
Yeah.
The King of Sweden, giving them awards. You know.
Yeah.
Count Basie, like I mentioned. We have pictures of Count Basie,
Yeah, that's a
Thad
lot.
Jones, Frank Foster, B. Aarons. Do you know what that B stands for?
Let's see, which one is he?
This gentleman here? I just see a B.
Yeah, B. I don't know.
So there's a lot of history involved, and that's why I say I'm onboarding people and I'm learning a lot as I go, even about production, being a musician. I do happen to have a guitar, but I'm learning how to play it.
Yeah.
So, but that's just my band members. They're like, yeah, no.
That's good.
But so these productions that theater productions, working with the theater, being the music director there, and a lot of pictures. So he ended up having
Now Joe always had
the hat.
the hat. He always
Koofy?
had the hat. Now, did he have several of them or just a few? Because that was his trademark.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he would have his hats and dashikis. I mean,
because even in class, that was Joe.
Yeah.
Mr. Brazil. He would have that on. Yeah.
well, that's part of what I was saying about going along with the playing the game. You know, he's like, this is who I am.
Yeah,
This
that
is
was
me.
his trademark. Yeah.
You know, take me as I am.
Exactly. Exactly.
And some people didn't
Wasn't ready for
want to
it,
go
couldn't
for
handle
that.
it,
You know,
yeah.
it wasn't very popular back then.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, he was very concerned with the youth. So Sam Shambliss here, Leslie Milton, and we have. Oh, I've been speaking to Spencer Haywood.
Okay.
I'm
Former
really,
Seattle Sonic
yes,
basketball player.
yes. So I mean, you can almost name anyone
Mm-hmm.
popular at the time, and he had some connection,
That's some
whether it was
connection.
music,
Very good.
could have been computer engineering. I mean, all around
Mm-hmm.
genius.
Outstanding, outstanding. I'm reading one thing on here. It just says, one of the headlines says, the music business, tough but worth it, for a Black Academy of Music. So the director, Joe Brazil, guides the community orchestra in a practice session. And then let's see, this is just such great history that you got somebody at this level, he just comes to the community, starts the academy, he's the executive director, and he's also teaching in it. So I mean, you just get a little bit of everything.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, Les, anything else you want to show while we're over here? Because we got about 3 minutes.
3 minutes here.
And if there's anything else, if not, we can just go back to the table.
Well, let's just talk about the Equinox. Joe Brazil hails from Detroit, a virtuoso of the saxophone, and someone was asking about all of the connections here. He's performed with a wide variety of major artists: John Coltrane, Count Basie, Dizzy Gillespie, Grover Washington Jr., Roy Ayers, and more. Focusing his many talents toward education, he's directed a number of groups: Jazz Tech, Equinox, and has taught music both privately and professor emeritus at the University of Washington, and being currently involved in computer research, working with mathematics and music, now reorganizing Equinox with members. Yes, Sam Shamblies, which I had, his son came by the club one night, awesome, on the trumpet. And and then when he saw this, he was like, "Oh, this is my dad," you know.
Wow.
See,
Just so many connections. So many connections.
Yes, so it is. It's just an honor to be able to do this work. I'm excited about it. We're ready. We're ready to do this and
sounds good.
keep Joe Brazil legacy alive, which it is a living legacy anyway, because all of these musicians are the legacy, and that's what I always remind them. You are the living legacy of Joe Brazil.
All right, well, it's about time to wrap the program up. Watch your step there. And we have all the information. We have the website, we have the email, we have the phone number, we have the event coming Saturday, September 8th at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center from 1 to 5 p.m. We have just go to the website, get the information. Joe Brazil, the living legacy. And I know that he is proud of you. I know he's proud of you doing the work.
Thank you so much. September 8th, Joe Brazil Day.
And so this program will be on some of the cable things in Seattle, Bremerton and Olympia, but also you can go to YouTube, and so this will be on there, so you can keep watching it even after the event is over, just so that you will know who Mr. Joe Brazil is and will always be.
Forevermore.
Forevermore. As I say, Wakanda forever, Joe Brazil forever.
Thank you.
We thank our audience for watching. Really appreciate your time and really all the hard work that you're doing. And like I said, you're a great uncle. We'll be very proud of you because we are.